Hi and good afternoon. Today's video is all about getting the perfect tenant, possibly avoiding a nightmare one. We get asked a lot from friends and other people before they are buying property, how do you sort of avoid having a nightmare tenant and if you can't get rid of them? The law, for those of you keep in touch with everything that's going on with residential landlords, has changed recently. It makes it much harder for a landlord to get rid of tenants who are difficult. And as ethical landlords, I personally think it's a bad move for the government to have taken this stance. And as a result, we've sort of ended up sort of disposing of some of our residential portfolio. Going back to the subject matter at hand, in terms of tenants, I bought my first property when I was 19 in Birmingham, and as a result of my personal circumstances, it really wasn't a major priority. So I did the absolute bare minimum I needed to do in terms of maintenance and any sort of management. And in those days, there wasn't a landlords association or YouTube where you could actually get some information on what to do and how to do. So the first house I had, it was a 3-bedroom terraced house. Back in the 80s, everybody was letting out to students, and in my mind, after an academic year at least, they would be gone, and the wear and tear went with the territory. So in terms of my approach to trying to find tenants, it was very simply my mantra that I use at the moment: can I do it myself? Can I save some money? So I drew a very large hand painted sign and stuck it in the bay window, and as you can imagine, I got all sorts of interest from all sorts of people. And whilst I still use this sort of approach in certain properties where I'm nearer the property, because it can sort of alert people to knowing that you're not at the property. So in terms of responses to the advert, I knew that what I wanted was, possibly third or second year students who were able to offer guarantors, etc., and have offer letters from individuals. And really, I suppose this is fairly lax on reflection. And now our strategy, with obviously more properties, has changed over the years, and really the narrative and the words that you use in your advert will also determine the sort of person that you will attract. And that goes from the headline in your advert, from students wanted to single employed person wanted, no pets, because most people will be searching for property whilst doing other things like watching television as well. Most recently, our sort of target market was employed people. We would try and preempt all the questions that people may ask during their inquiries. So we would try and preempt the answers. Is there off-road parking? Yes, there is. Do we accept pets? No, we didn't at that time. As the laws change, you can't reject anybody just because they have a pet now. And really, going back onto sort of the adverts, one of the things that Guy often sort of does in an advert, he puts a Easter egg in it, and an Easter egg is a sort of really a little test to see how diligent people are in terms of reading and responding. So the Easter egg on some of our adverts is when you're responding to us, please could you email in the subject line house to let Eastwood. And for those people who didn't put that in the subject line, we would automatically dismiss them, because if they're not paying that much attention to where they want to live in the future, then they really possibly weren't for us. So those sorts of little small tricks that you can do, tips and tricks that you can do to find out what people are like. And the other thing is, obviously, when people come to view the property, it's always interesting to see who they've come with. I'm obviously always a softie for people who turn up with their parents, because you can see what sort of individuals that you're dealing with. Should anything go wrong, could you negotiate with the parents at some point if you needed to, and especially if they were going to be acting as guarantors. So that's really useful. And finally, I would say trust your gut instinct. It's very much like when you're interviewing for a member of staff, if you think that you would like this person in your house or you could work with them, your gut instinct is usually right. And another thing is that whilst we sell property to our friends, I don't think I would ever let a property to a friend or a room, because it's very hard to enforce standards when there's a emotional contact there. In a future video, we will be looking at Section 21 and what you need to do if you do need to evict a tenant. And I can honestly say, between the 60 years that Guy and I have between us, we've never had to invoke Section 21 or get rid of a tenant, and that's purely by doing things properly and following the simple tips that we've said. Trust your gut instinct, plan your adverts.